Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I am Adebola Adeduba. The headlines. Nigeria sets April 2024 to commence production at Port Harcourt refinery. Several candidates in Senegal's elite presidential election reject President Macky Sall's dialogue bid. Voter registration for South Africa's 2024 general elections officially closes. And details shortly. We begin the news at this hour in West Africa, where the Nigerian government has set a new date for the commencement of production of refined petroleum at the Port Harcourt refinery complex located in the nation's south-south region. And this was made known exclusively to News Central by the Minister of State for Labour, who said this will ultimately cause a reduction in the price of premium motor spirits.
The refinery will commence production, will be giving Nigerians fuel by April. Remember, in my earlier statement, I said before the end of the year. It's just for clarity that we are saying April, and that's what they told us. And that was what was reported by the people managing the refinery. And then the other one will commence by December, meaning by end of this year, the two refineries, both the old one and the new one, will start production.
Let's also tell you that data from the National Bureau of Statistics show foreign investment in Nigeria's manufacturing industry went up by $644 million in 2023 to $1.5 billion from $948 million in the previous year. The NBS, in its capital importation report, said manufacturing ranked first as the sector with the most investment. The banking and finance sectors came a distant second and third as the sectors that made up the top three investment magnates. Lagos State was a top destination in 2023 with $2.5 billion, followed by Abuja with $1.1 billion. Abia and Rivers State recorded $150 million and $6 million in that order. Other states attracted investments in 2023 were Ogun, Ekiti, Abia, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, and Adamawa State. 29 states failed to attract any investment during the period. And to talk about this, I've been joined by Dr. Femi Egbeshola, National President, Association of Small Business Owners. Good morning. Glad to have you join me.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. What specific factors, are driving the increase in foreign investment in the manufacturing sector?
Well, quite a number of factors. One is that it is now cheaper to invest in Nigeria because of the falling value of our naira. So it means when you bring in few foreign currency, it becomes a lot of naira here. That is much for investment. Another is that the investors are able to speculate that there will be need for a lot of locally manufactured products now because it's becoming more and more difficult and expensive to import other materials. And we're a consuming nation, we have the population. So any manufacturing company coming here to produce what we need now will definitely sell, especially too that some manufacturing companies are already leaving Nigeria, relocated to other countries. The other to it also is the fact that the president has been going around the world to canvass and market Nigeria, try to stimulate foreign investments, and I think that's also yielding some form of results. We also have a lot of brain drain in the name of JAPA in the last 4 or 5 years. Some of these Nigerians who have left the country are also sending in money to do business. One major sector that they're sending in the money to is the manufacturing sector. We also have the need for government now to begin to see how they can drive more of these investors to the country, and I'm sure we're going to address it along the line.
Dr. Femi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. It's interesting you talked about the jackpot syndrome. I was going to ask you what major factors are driving this syndrome of people leaving Nigeria and then relocating abroad.
Well, it's because the standard of living has fallen. It's pretty becoming difficult for Nigerians to be able to make ends meet and then take care of their basic needs. And that's the reason why many of Nigerians are traveling. But the good thing of it is that by the time they travel, they also send in their earnings back to Nigeria. Many of these earnings come in the form of investments. It also helps us to generate more forex in the country, which is also good for the economy.
Let's talk about the impact so far of decline of foreign investment on the Nigerian economy. I mean, how has it affected exchange rates, inflation, or even other economic indicators?
Well, when there is decline in foreign investment, you discover that less foreign currency comes into the country. And that's one of the reasons why we are having this inflation and the unavailability or scarcity of foreign exchange, particularly dollars. And that has not been helping our economy. By the time we have more foreign investment coming into the country, you discover that more funds come in with it, and it helps us to be able to improve our economy. It also helps us to be able to create more jobs. It helps us to stabilize the naira that is already falling. And that's what we have been happening in the past. It has negatively impacted on the economy because of the decline. Good news that the story is taking a different shape. We're now having more investment into the country, and we hope that will continue with the new policies that the government is putting into place to ease the doing of business.
Well, you talked about attracting foreign investment. I'm wondering, with the present factors in Nigeria, we have inflation at 29%. We have food inflation at 35%. Do you think Nigeria has all it takes to attract foreign investment?
Well, yes. There are always two sides to a coin. The inflation rate in the country at the moment is to some way an advantage to foreign investors. It means that like I did mention the other time, the few foreign currency they bring into the country becomes so much when they exchange it to the naira. It means they have more fund for investments, and they're also able to address the critical needs of the country. Now that we're having inflation, one of the major reasons of the inflation is that we consume more of imported items, and it is now very difficult and expensive to bring in these imported items because of inflation. Now coming into the country to invest here and locally manufacture the products we need will make the price come down, and it will also make them sell more of whatever they are doing, which means more profits to the organization or corporation that are investing in that.
Okay, let's look at other African countries in terms of foreign investment. How do we compare, when we check the books as relating to other African countries in terms of foreign investment?
We are not doing badly. We are not really doing badly at all. One thing that
all right, Dr. Femi, I would have to interrupt you here. We have to take a short break. So we have a technical challenge. We'll get back to you very shortly. You're live with News Central TV. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying tuned. We sincerely apologize for that technical glitch. And to talk about that conversation, I'm being joined live by Dr. Femi Egbeshola, National President, Association of Small Business Owners. Good morning, Dr. Femi. Glad to have you join me.
Good morning once again. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, could you share with us the factors driving the increase in foreign investment in the manufacturing sector?
Yes, there are a number of factors driving foreign investments at the moment now. One of such is the fact that it's now cheaper to invest in Nigeria because of the falling value of the naira. It's now easier to bring in few foreign currency and exchange it to a lot of naira. For investors, it is also right to speculate that Nigeria is the right destination place to invest now because it is becoming extremely difficult to import products that Nigeria needs to to the market because of the falling value of the naira. Imported products now are extremely expensive in the market, and the right thing for any investor to do is to come down here and invest and begin to sell and make more profits. We also have the issue of the Japa syndrome or the brain drain. Many of Nigerians have traveled abroad for some past years now. They've made some money, and the right thing for them to do is to invest in their country. And that's also happening, bringing in a lot of investment in Nigerian sectors, particularly the manufacturing sector. We also have the issue of the president going around the world to market Nigeria, trying to drive investment. I think that is also yielding some good fruit because we are now seeing quite a number of investments here and there. We can also see that government has tried to introduce a lot of tax incentives to be able to bring in investors, and it's also yielding fruit. We also have free trade zones here and there where it makes it easier for investors now to begin to manufacture in Nigeria without paying much in terms of taxes and levies. And this has also encouraged investments into the country.
Well, it's interesting you touched on the Japa syndrome, which is a recurring decimal. I mean, how can we prevent Nigerians in droves leaving the country?
Well, if we want to do that, we just must fix our economy. If the economy is right, few people would want to leave. Most people that are leaving are not leaving because they really choose to leave. But the economic crunch and its adverse effect on their well-being is what is forcing them out of the country. And that can only be mitigated if the fiscal and economic policies is fixed right, if ease of doing business is improved, and if security and other issues that relate to the livelihood and well-being of the citizens are improved. You also must understand, too, that no matter how good a country is, there will also be other reasons why people will migrate from one place to the other. But the level of our migration here is so alarming, and that's why we need to be talking about it.
Okay, let's talk some more about foreign investment. How do you think it will impact employment and also wages in the manufacturing sector?
Well, when we have more foreign investment, definitely more jobs will be created because it means more factories will be opened in the manufacturing sector, which will need more workers. That's a good one for us. At the same time, too, it will also bring more revenue to the country because those investors will end up paying tax and raise government revenue. We will also have a lot of technology transfer from overseas to our people that can now begin to use those technology to locally also manufacture those products or items. We also have a law of local content here where it says that investors must make sure that they have 80% local content. That also will go a long way to boost the investments in Nigeria and have a good effect on our economy because of the local content law that we have at the moment. It will also go on to help to improve the infrastructure of the country, because we know that when government has enough investments and more revenue, they'll be able to have more money to spend on infrastructure. Finally, it will also help to reduce the prices of goods and commodities. When we have many manufacturers coming up to produce so many things at the same time, and we have more supply beyond the demand, it will naturally bring down the prices of goods and commodity by directly or indirectly reducing inflation.
Well, I'm tempted to ask you if we presently, as a country, have all it takes to attract foreign investments. We've heard of companies leaving Nigeria, foreign companies, leaving Nigeria. We've got inflation to battle with at 29%. We have food inflation at 35%. The hike in prices of goods and services. I'm wondering if Nigeria, as a country, can attract foreign investment.
Well, if you want to look at the books and the economics, you may say no, but Nigeria is a miracle country. We have so many things working for us. One of it is our population. Our population attracts investment every now and then because anybody coming here knows that there's a ready market of over 200 million people. That's a lot. We also now have the issue of the falling naira, which makes it easier and cheaper for whoever wants to come in to invest in our country. And beyond that, we also believe that a lot of investors have seen so many opportunities that unfortunately we the locals are not seeing, and that's why you will see Nigerians living overseas and you see the expatriates and investors coming into the country. There's something they have seen and they are sure of that is making profit for them at the end of the exercise that we are not seeing. And that's why you see a lot of companies still springing up, as many as possible, as much as we have others closing shop and relocating.
What more can the Nigerian government do to woo more foreign investment? Should they be looking at, tax incentives or improve infrastructure?
Yes, tax incentive is one of it. Tax has to be harmonized. It has to be understood, and it should always be right. It should be an issue whereby taxes should be addressed to the fruits and not the seed. That's one of the challenges we have here now. Regulatory and certification processes also need to be improved. We have some organizations or investors coming in and spending weeks or months trying to get one kind of approval or certificate or the other. Government needs to also improve on that. The government also needs to improve on ease of doing business. It is important that ease of doing business should be improved. Infrastructure needs to be fixed, particularly power and road has to be fixed so that these companies have power to work with and they have good roads to distribute whatever they produce in and around the country. The government also needs to ensure that security is worked upon. You will discover that in your report, few states are attracting foreign investment. You wonder why are other states not attracted? It is because one of the factors is that they are not secured enough. We have security issues here and there. We have unrest here and there. These are mitigating against investment, and government needs to work about it. Finally, government needs to begin to reform many of our fiscal and monetary policies. They need to be worked upon. One of it that just came up recently is inability of investors to be able to repatriate their profit and capital back to their destination country. Investors does not really like that. They want to move their capital and their profit at any time they so desire. But the new CBN law mitigates against that now. That may also discourage investment.
Just one final question for you, Dr. Femi. I mean, what's your position of on people who say, tax incentives will further deplete the economy?
I don't agree with that. In our economy, we need to grow, particularly the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector is challenged at the moment, and we need to grow that sector. That's the real sector. That's the only way the country can begin to revive the economy. The country can begin to reduce inflation by consuming what we produce. And the one way to encourage them is tax incentive and even other form of palliatives and intervention. So whatever can be done by government to incentivize that sector, to support that sector, to grow that sector, to me, is a welcome idea. When they grow and they become stable, taxes will be channeled to them and they will be able to pay without much ado when they are able to stabilize. Now they need to stabilize. The economy is not right. The situation of the country is not really right. We need to support them to stabilize and grow. Then we can tax them further and they'll be able to conveniently pay those taxes.
Well, thank you so much for your expertise on the news, Dr. Femi Egbeshola. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much once again.
In the face of a rising inflation and economic uncertainty, Nigerian women are increasingly beginning to feel the financial burden of maintaining their beauty routines. The high cost of hair making, wigs, extensions add to their financial struggles. Chidima Honor gives more insight into the story.
Today is Friday. People will be saying, thank God it's Friday. But we are here. We are not saying any thank God it's Friday again. Why Friday is like this? That's what we are saying now.
For many Nigerian women, a trip to the salon isn't just about pampering. It is about expressing themselves and upholding cultural norms. But lately, that trip has become increasingly expensive. Hairstyles once considered affordable are now pinching budgets.
My beauty budget is pretty wide. I can't put a figure to it because everything is expensive. To buy wigs, ridiculous.
In December, I bought an attachment for 1,800 and I bought 2. Today, I went to buy the same attachment for 3,800 for one. That is the small one, the same size. In short, I don't know if they are reducing the quantity, because it's really, really tiring.
The rising costs are being attributed to several factors, including the devaluation of the naira, increased demand, and the growing popularity of elaborate hairstyles.
I think they just need to maybe reduce their prices a bit so that, people that are not making as much money can also still feel beautiful and still, buy these things. But I also know it's not their fault because, dollar is really high. So they're also buying, and they're buying at a ridiculously high price. But just consider those of us that cannot afford so much.
The people don't make hair again. They stopped to come and make their hair again because of the attachments that they are selling 5.5 now instead of 2.8 that we are buying it before. Anybody that wants to braid their hair, they will use like 2 before. But now they cannot even buy one, talk less of using 2. It's because of the dollar exchange problem that we are facing now. It's affecting all of us.
When the cost of production is not too much on the people that are producing, of course their price will not be high, and we will also be able to afford whatever thing that we want to do.
But amidst the frustration, there is also resilience. More women are seeking alternatives and solutions. Some are learning hairstyling skills, while others are opting for natural hairstyles.
I like making hair, but for now, I just feel like barbing my hair. So because the cost of things are too high, so I need to cut it off and be using my wig.
I would suggest they make different styles of all back. Yes, different style.
As the country navigates its economic struggles, Nigerian women will have to find ways more creative and resourceful to maintain their beauty. While we cannot tell what options they will resort to, we definitely know for sure that the conversation about beauty and its financial impact on women will remain in the front burner for a while.
A federal high court sitting in Ilorin has given a 50 million naira bail condition for the embattled governor of Kwara State, former governor of Kwara State, Abdulfatah Ahmed, after he pleaded not guilty to 12 counts bordering on alleged mismanagement of public funds of the tune of 10 billion naira. The Ilorin Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arraigned Ahmed before Justice Evelyn Ayadike of the Federal High Court in Ilorin on Friday. The immediate past governor of Kwara State has been in the custody of the EFCC after being initially invited for questioning on Monday. Among the charges against the former governor is the use of funds meant for the security and running costs of the government of Kwara State and chartering private jets for local travels on different occasions while he was governor between 2015 and 2019. In the meantime, Nigerians have urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to be thorough in its investigations and leave no stone unturned in bringing corrupt public officials to book. And this is as investigators from the Anti-Graft Agency say they have uncovered a fresh case of widespread fraud in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs amounting to billions in naira. Marvelous Obomano has details.
The recent revelations of gross financial embezzlement from Nigeria's Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs has left many in awe of events ongoing in the ministry. While many have blamed the current hardship being faced by citizens to corruption by public officials, they say more needs to be done to address this menace.
What are you going to do with 36 billion naira? What are you going to do with 10 billion naira? How much food can you eat a day? How much vehicle will you use a day? They are just being stupid of everything. The devil has overrun them and they choose to be wicked. Money for road, you use it to go and beat cars too. Money for hospitals, you share it within your cronies.
If you are a governor of a state, the money that belongs to the city, to the state, you will embezzle it and nobody can say anything. After you leave a government, nobody can do anything, and which is wrong. They are absolutely wrong.
If you look at all these people that are doing these things, most of them, their families are not in Nigeria. Some of them have their families abroad where they loot all these things and take it abroad and enjoy themselves. But those in Nigeria, they don't care what they are passing through. So it's actually a big challenge.
These issues that are currently under the EFCC are arraigned in courts. The accusers are arraigned in courts, are given their day, and they get to defend themselves as well, which is the democratic process and the right thing to do. Then we should be able to see and follow the entire process gradually and discern for ourselves that, yes, justice was served here.
Some Nigerians have commended the nation's anti-graft agency for its renewed vigor in the fight against corruption, saying its efforts to bring corrupt officials to book is commendable.
If everybody was the same in government, we would not see these things. They would be swept under the rug. So for the singular reason that we get to hear about this, we get to see them on the news, people get to be arrested, Betta Edu lost her office, sort of speaks well to the government as well.
The Commission says that their investigations against cases of fraud are gradually yielding results. While they have refused to give details, they say this is so as not to jeopardize current investigation. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obonman.
To Lead Africa has launched a mobile app that can keep track of promises made by Nigeria's political class. The app, which can be downloaded on smartphones, was launched in the nation's capital, Abuja, and is expected to promote transparency and accountability in governance across Nigeria's 36 states. Amadine Uyi reports.
Pro-transparency experts say transparency and accountability in governance will help improve the quality of lives of citizens. They also add that citizens have a responsibility to keep elected officials on their toes, so as to ensure that promises made before elections are fulfilled. With this in mind, Pro-Transparency Organization, They're Ready to Lead Africa, has launched an app that can help citizens follow promises made by the nation's political elites.
What we're doing here today is the launch and unveiling of the Follow the Promises mobile and web application, which we're currently implementing across 6 states in Nigeria.
They say the app, which can be downloaded on smartphones, will be available to citizens across the 36 states of the Federation and will help keep track of how they fulfill their promises.
It'll be, they're expanding it to more states, and you'll be able to look at promises made by elected officials in that state, related to education, infrastructure, different areas.
The goal is to track the promises made by governorship candidates during the last elections. And for the last couple of months that they've been sworn in, we're following the promises that they made vis-a-vis their manifestos and working with people who live in every local government of this state.
They also add that it will help improve transparency and accountability in governance and promote the growth of good governance in the country.
What we are doing with this platform is to begin a new revolution of e-governance, e-democracy. And for us, it's important to be able to have this level of technology be used to sustain democracy and improve citizens' engagement.
The Follow the Promises app will focus on elected political office holders across the 36 states of the country. It will usher in a new era where citizens will be able to hold leaders accountable, especially as they appraise them based on their performance. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
You're watching News Central now. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. The late governor of Ondo State, Olurotimi Akeredolu, has finally been laid to rest in his hometown of Owo. The funeral ceremony, which was conducted at the Cathedral Church of St. Andrew, had in attendance the Vice President of Nigeria, serving and past governor, senior advocate of Nigeria, judges, among others. Bernard Akede attended the funeral service and filed in this report.
Aketi, as he was fondly called, is finally being laid to rest. The Cathedral Church of St. Andrew in Owo, Ondo State, the late governor's hometown, was packed full with family, friends, and well-wishers. While delivering his sermon, the officiating minister spoke highly of the late governor, but also used the opportunity to address the government officials present, urging them to pilot the affairs of the nation in a godly manner while making reference to the current economic situation in the country.
Life is brief and full of trouble, and I emphasize this word, full of trouble. It's like a flower which comes up today, and the next day it dries. It's like a shadow that does not last. You see your shadow now, take a few steps, you see it no more.
Serving and past governors defied party differentials to attend the funeral and pay their last respect to the late governor. Meanwhile, outside the cathedral, the Southwest Security Unit, known as Amotekun, which was largely an initiative of the late Governor Akeredolu, had a display in honor of their patron. Wrapping up the funeral ceremony, President Bola Tinubu, who was represented by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, sent his goodwill message to the family of the late governor and the good people of Ondo State.
Today we bid final farewell to a remarkable soul whose final station was as the governor of Ondo State, Arakurin Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu SANCON. A man who in the theater of life stood as a fearless soldier for his people. A man who was unflinching in his dedication to their well-being. A man whose legacy is etched in the battles he fought on behalf of the people, leaving an indelible footprint on the sands of our shared history.
The interment that followed was only open to close family members, and other invited guests left the cathedral. In Owo for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Stabbed to death with several others injured following a clash Thursday night between rival youths of Ogba area of Ikeja in Lagos State. And this has since led to the disruption of commercial activities in the area, leaving residents apprehensive. Marshal Anthony Onyonye tells us more on this.
Residents of Oluwole Estate in Ogba, Lagos, southwest Nigeria, have witnessed what they say is a tumultuous disruption of peace and commerce from clashes between members of the Yoruba and Hausa communities, resulting in destruction of property and a tragic loss of life. A resident who simply goes by the name Lala says trouble began Thursday night when a minibus driver who resides in the estate was pursued by some unknown individuals suspected to be commercial motorbike riders, also known as Okada. In an attempt to evade his assailants, the minibus driver drove into the estate. Events escalated when the residents of the estate tried to intervene between the Okada riders and the minibus driver.
So the guy has to run to the estate because this is where he normally lives, this Oluwole estate here. Before we look, we saw this Aboki again with a plenty of Okada and dagger and knives. So they have to destroy Oluwole. So we have to send them out. By sending them out, they are just coming with a bike. There are more than 30 or 40 of, the bike. The guy they kill, the guy is not even part of the people that is chasing them. It's just like, okay, what is happening? Abe is a part of this place. He's living in the estate. So he just came outside to look at what is happening. On the way, the guy that drove bike with the 3 guys on the bike, he now carried dagger. He just took Abe in this same place. He took him from the back and come outside from chest. So Abe is not a part of the people that is fighting. He's not the one driving the Korokwe. He's just an estate guy, and he's a cool guy. He's not a wala guy like that.
We visited Abe's family, whom we met still reeling in deep grief. Mother of the deceased could barely speak to us on how she came to lose a 39-year-old son. Other residents who spoke with News Central emphasized the need for the state government to look into issues of such unprovoked attacks by people so far identified as Okada riders, mostly of northern extraction in the state.
wàhálà wọn ti pọ̀ ju àfẹ́ wọn mọ́ láàrin wa àfẹ́ tó máa dà wá láàmú mọ́.
Very painful. Aboki people is not good though. What they do is not good at all. Just came here and kill someone. Why?
Speculations are rife that, but for the men of Nigerian Police, Area G Command, who were deployed to the scene in the wake of the clash to calm the situation, some residents had prepared for a reprisal. The remains of the deceased, Abiodun Hassan, have since been deposited at the morgue.
In Nigeria's northeastern state of Borno, the government has engaged with all district heads of the State of Emirates Council on peace building and the reintegration of de-radicalized Boko Haram insurgents. The traditional leaders are demanding explicit rules for themselves in Nigeria's constitution to further strengthen their capacities to function. Umaru Kirawa has details.
The reintegration of repentant and de-radicalized terrorists in Nigeria's northeast, particularly Borno State, has been a major source of concern for all. While government kept insisting that it is the only way available for peace, co-opting them into the society seems to require collaboration from other stakeholders. This is due to several allegations of stigmatization and sometimes the return of the de-radicalized back to the forest.
Most of them, they are deceivers. Even right now, we are facing one or two things about them. So we are appealing to the government, let him select a committee and involve the traditional rulers. Let us sit down together with their leaders. So we have to know that if there is any problem that the government is not doing to them, let us know before anything will be okay for us. Because we are looking at the future of our children, the next generation.
If we have clear and defined roles, we know what we are going to do. But traditional rulers are already in the constitution, but the constitution is not very much clear on the roles of traditional rulers. So I am calling on the government to include and give a clear role, defined role to the traditional rulers.
The traditional leaders indicated their readiness to put more efforts in the reintegration process by leveraging their influential positions to engage with communities affected by insurgency.
Going forward, the government will be speaking more to the grassroots constituencies, traditional rulers downward.
If they were given their role, even this insurgency we are in could not have happened because of one of the reasons for this insurgency, as we all know, is lack of good governance. And then corruption, and then people have grievances where they don't have a means of addressing, of which all these three things I mentioned, the traditional institution has a mechanism of addressing this.
But this time around, I believe the executive governor of Borno State, who is also a traditionalist per se, I think. So therefore, he will make sure that he make effective use of this venue to bring together, to coalesce the effort of the traditional institution and that of government so that we can have a lasting peace.
As the deliberations continue, stakeholders hope for an outcome that will not only empower traditional leaders, but also reinforce their collective determination to rebuild their communities and forge a brighter future. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
News Central now continues in West Africa, where several candidates in Senegal's late presidential election and a large civil society collective say they would refuse to take part in talks proposed by President Macky Sall to decide a date for the vote he postponed earlier this month. Sall has faced growing calls to set a date for the presidential election after his abrupt delay of the February 25 poll triggered weeks of political crisis. He put off a decision on the date until after talks with political and social actors due to begin on Monday. A collective of some 40 Senegalese civil society groups also rejected Sall's proposed dialogue, describing it as unacceptable and an attempt at diversion.
Nous, en tant que candidats, nous nous opposons à tout dialogue sur cette question et nous exigeons qu'une date soit prise avant le 2 avril pour déclencher le processus électoral. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
In South Africa, registration period for the 2024 general elections has officially closed as the date for the polls has been gazetted. The date was gazetted on Friday following consultation between President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Electoral Commission of South Africa. 2 national registration weekends and an online application portal brought the voters' roll to 27.6 million. The The IEC said this was the first time since the dawn of democracy that the country has seen such a high number of people registering to vote. Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Eastern Cape recorded the highest number of registration to date, with people under the age of 29 being the biggest number of first-time voters. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres says since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, it has been 2 years of fighting, suffering, stoking global tensions and straining global relations. Addressing a Security Council meeting, Guterres said the war remains an open wound at the heart of Europe. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba also accused Russia at the UN General Assembly of ignoring the will of the world as more than 50 countries stood with Kyiv to oppose the invasion.
Depuis l'invasion à grande échelle de l'Ukraine par la Russie, nous avons connu 2 années de combat, 2 années de souffrance, des années lesquelles les tensions mondiales ont été attisées et les relations internationales mises à mal. C'en est assez. Le mépris de la charte était à l'origine du problème. Le respect...
And up next is business news. Have a look.
Welcome to Business News. The Nigerian Senate has mandated the full release of the 2.7 trillion naira tax credit fund to expedite the completion of ongoing road projects nationwide. Senator Sani Musa, chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, revealed this during the appearance of Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, before the committee. Musa emphasized the necessity of releasing the 2.7 trillion naira for ongoing projects under the scheme, while advising against new policy implementation beyond this amount. A portion of the 2.7 trillion naira had already been released by the NNPCL for road construction. Despite initial opposition from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Umahi clarified that the 2.7 trillion naira was not a new request, but rather a funding gap as of January this year. The South Africa Central Bank's current inflation target range spans from 3 to 6%. South Africa Reserve Bank Governor Lasetja Kyago has been a proponent of a single-point target. South Africa's National Treasury has indicated the need to reconsider the central bank's inflation target to enhance competitiveness and address the adverse impact of price growth on the poorer citizens in the country. The central bank, which currently operates within a target band of 3 to 6% with a preference for anchoring inflation at the midpoint, has been advocating for a reduction in the target for several years. Governor Lasetja Kyago has consistently stressed that a single-point inflation target of 3% would align with South Africa's peers, potentially allowing for lower interest rates and reducing the impact of price growth on the daily lives of South Africans. Zimbabwe is calling on miners to submit plans for producing battery-grade lithium by the end of March this year, despite a sharp global price drop for the mineral. This was as announced by a senior government official. The country, Africa's top lithium producer, desires to benefit from the global shift towards electric vehicles and clean energy storage. Chinese miners, dominant in Zimbabwe's lithium sector, currently export concentrates to China for further processing. With lithium supply outstripping demand from the battery market, prices have plunged over 80%, leading to job cuts and reduced output by numerous firms. Deputy Mines Minister Polite Kambamura emphasized the government's commitment to promoting beneficiation and encouraged miners to outline plans for establishing processing capacity. Senegal's President Macky Sall's commitment to relinquish his position at the end of his term was met with approval from investors following a period of unrest triggered by his bid to extend his presidency. Senegal's dollar-euro bond prices rose for the first time in 4 days, with yields on the notes due May 2033 dropping by 6 basis points to 8.76% after his late announcement. The attempt to prolong his tenure had also unsettled democratic neighbors and investors. Despite Sall's assurance of stepping down, opposition leaders expressed skepticism, highlighting the need for clarity and certainty in the political landscape. And finally, in a budget speech on Friday, Finance Minister Simplex Chithiola Banda announced that Malawi anticipates economic growth of 3.2% in 2024, which is expected to rise to 4.8% in 2025. This forecast closely aligns with International Monetary Fund IMF's projection of 3.3% growth for the current year. Malawi has been contending with foreign currency shortages, resulting in scarcities of fuel, medicines, and fertilizers. The IMF, which granted Malawi a loan of approximately $178 million in November, has emphasized the country's need for nearly $1 billion in debt relief by 2027. And that's a package on Business News at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetual Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
Kenya's President William Ruto has paid tribute to world marathon record holder Kevin Kiptum at his funeral in Chepkorio village, Western Kenya. Speaking during the funeral proceedings, President Ruto notes that they would build a better house for Kiptum's family and also give her 5 million Kenyan shillings to cater to the needs of the family. He adds that they will also develop the Chepkorio village by investing 50 million Kenyan shillings in the building of the market, good roads and electricity. He also promised to give Asenath a job that would help her cater to her young family's needs.
Kelvin had just joined the many heroes that we have, the great ambassadors of our country, our sportsmen and women that keep Kenya on the world map.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Nigeria has set April 2024 to commence production at Port Harcourt refinery. Several candidates in Senegal's delayed presidential election have rejected President Macky Sall's dialogue bid. And finally, we told you that voter registration for South Africa's 2024 general elections has officially closed. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.